This is the Forgiven Soldier radio show.
Strangers become your brothers. They got your six when it's back against that wall. And you will never have another who cared for you when times got rough. That's a brother. For you when times got tough, that's a brother.
And now, your host, Brian Basham.
Hey, welcome back to the show. We have a great guest in the studio today. I've been trying to get this man on my show for about 3 years, ever since I had it. So I am very honored to have Mr. Josh Merritt. How you doing, man? Welcome in.
I'm very well. Thank you for having me, man. I'm glad we finally made it work.
Finally made it happen, man. I know if y'all been listening to the show, I've mentioned you several times about just, one, getting you on the show, but two, just the impact you have for local music within Owensboro. And you've been traveling a lot. I've been watching you on Facebook and all that stuff. So what does that mean to you, like, because you have people talking about Josh Merritt, and like when they mention local music, they mention your name. How does that feel, like, from when you first started and what you wanted to do? I mean, you quit your full-time job to do this, to where you are now and where you're going. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, it's 9 years this year. I've been a full-time musician, and I don't know if I would have done it the same way going back. I think I would have found an income so that I could just go out and do my art, not have to rely on my art to be my income. But it's been it's been great, man. Yeah. It's been great, and it's one of those things that you don't realize that's going on until you come in somewhere like here and someone tells you that, like, hey, like, this is, your name comes up a lot. I did a podcast about a month ago, and we had the same conversation, and like, being very genuine, like, wow, that's very humbling, and it's an honor to hear that, man.
Well, it kind of
people are saying that kind of stuff. So
it puts a mark on, and that's the thing, you said it, like, you don't know what your story looks like because you're in your story, right? Until after, or you sit down and take a look back. You mentioned the big L. You don't see.
Yeah,
what do you say?
Standing too close to the elephant, you can't see the elephant.
Exactly. So, and I love that. I'm going to use it now. But so you don't see it, and you need people to. I mean, if you're just a kind person, let people know, like, what they mean in your life, and that you're following them and all that stuff. So I want to make sure I told you that first off.
Thank you.
When I moved back to Kentucky in 2016, we have a mutual friend, Jared Fuquay. Mm-hmm. He invited me out, and I hadn't been back to Kentucky since 2002. At that point, I joined the military and all that stuff, and came back, and we went to Taylor's. Yeah, Taylor's, and you're out there playing. And honestly, when I was in California and stuff, like, I didn't go to, like, local music, like, musicians shows and stuff like that. It just wasn't a thing. And so when I first came back here and went to my first live show, it was you. And I was like, oh my God, like, it sounds professional, like, I've never heard anything like that. It was you sung my favorite song of all time, Doug Stone, Pine Box.
Oh, wow. That's one of my favorite songs.
Oh my
of all
gosh.
Time,
and
too. I've credited that song as being the saddest song I've ever heard.
Yes, it is.
I think it is. I think it's the saddest song I've ever heard.
But it's almost, it's for me, this might make me sound morbid, but it's, I love singing it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I love sad songs are my favorite songs.
Mine too.
So that's,
yeah. People get on to me, like, I've been writing songs, and they're like, you need to write some fast songs. I'm like, I don't like fast songs. I like the ballads, and
I have a theory on the whole sad song thing. It's I think music should make you feel something, and I think people get, I think that's for lack of better words, the problem people have with sad songs sometimes, if you get into them, is because good music, whether it's fast or slow or whatever, it's good if it makes you feel something. Music is the vibrations that run the world. And so the problem is, I'll be at shows sometimes, people be like, man, you're playing a lot of sad songs. Can you pep it up a little bit? And it's not that they have a problem with the sad songs. They have a problem with the way those songs are making them feel in the moment. They don't want to feel that way right now. And I've always had an appreciation for sad songs because the other side of that is I think that music, it should make you feel something, but in making you feel something, it should also make you relate to something. Yeah. So here's the thing: when I'm the saddest I've ever been in my life, and I've been pretty sad at times, you know, what's pulled me out of those holes sometimes are sad songs, and a lot of times that doesn't even make sense if you tell somebody like, I'm super sad and what made me feel better was listening to sad songs. But I figured out what it is. It's because when you're the saddest of the sad, and all of us do this, I think, I'm sure I'm not the only one, but we get into this mode where we isolate to where we're by ourselves, and we put it in our head that we're the only people on the planet that feel that way. No one else could possibly feel this way right now. No one else could possibly know what I'm going through. And then you hear a sad song that says everything that you're feeling in the moment. And all of a sudden, to me, it says, I'm not the only one that feels this way. This guy gets it. How does he understand? Yeah. He wrote about it. He gets it too, you know, and that's... And I write a lot of sad songs, and I think it's because I want to make somebody feel that way too. You know, like I get it. You know.
Well, and me and my wife are worship leaders, and there's that too. I mean, there are fast Christian songs, and we play at church, but most of it's like a love story. You know, about Jesus and just talking about him and glorifying him. So, but I think that's why I enjoy it, is because there's so much emotion that I get from it. Like you said, like, I'm not the only one feeling anxiety. I'm not the only one who's caught in my own thoughts, kind of thing. And that's where music comes in for me. That's why it's therapeutic to me, is when I'm, you know, feeling anxious or whatever, the first thing I do is grab the guitar and I just play songs. And usually they're sad songs because I want to, basically I'm crying out, you know, and doing that. So that's a great point, man. I never heard anybody put it that way, and it makes sense. Yeah,
John Prine, who's one of my favorite songwriters ever. I heard it. I'm going to quote him real quick. He said one time, somebody told him, like, man, you write a lot of sad songs, and he said, why is that? And John Prine said, well, if I'm being honest, he said, last thing I want to do when I'm happy is go write a song. He said, usually if I'm happy, I want to go do something. I want to go be somewhere else. I want to play, you know. So like usually if I'm writing songs, I'm sitting around a lot or something.
You got to be in the right mind frame. And I say that like you have to be in the mind frame where there's going to be something good that comes out of it, kind of thing. And and usually when you're happy, you're not thinking. You're just like, I'm going.
Or you want to go do something else. You know, like when I feel good, I want to go fish or be on the lake or something like that, you know.
So let's talk about Josh Merritt before all this stuff. Like, where'd you grow up at?
I grew up in Reynolds Station, Kentucky for the start of my life, man. I was one of those kids. I bounced around everywhere growing up, so it's really hard for me to put a thumbprint. But like when people ask me where my home is, that was my first home, and throughout my life, that's always been my anchor. No matter where I lived, my great aunt and uncle, they owned a farm out in Reynolds Station, and they were kind of like my grandparents growing up. So no matter where I lived or what I was going through, I'd always end up back at their house on the weekends, you know, like you would at grandma and grandpa's house or whatever. So, I always say my home place is Reynolds Station, Kentucky, which is South Hancock County.
Okay. So did you go to Hancock County school at some point in your life?
I did at kindergarten. I went there and first grade. And
those are some trying years, man. So that's what shapes you.
That's what.
Kindergarten.
And then I moved to. I think I can do this. Hang on, let me see. I moved to Madisonville. I moved to Paducah. I moved back to Owensboro. Sargo, so West Elementary. I moved in with my dad. I went to Eastview, and then we moved to Somerset, Kentucky when I was in the 4th grade. And if I had to say a second home, it's definitely Somerset because that was like the longest I ever went to school somewhere. I went from 4th grade until my freshman year of high school in Pulaski County, Somerset, which is eastern Kentucky. And then we moved back here. And then I finished out school in Owensboro. I've been in Owensboro ever since I was a freshman
Owensboro
in high
High?
school. Huh?
Owensboro High.
I went to Apollo for 3 years, and
There
I
you go.
graduated from OHS.
Yeah, don't forget about the Apollo, man.
Yeah.
So, that's a lot of schools, man.
A lot of schools, man.
But I might have you beat.
You think so?
My dad was in the military.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we didn't really travel that much, but when him and my mom got divorced, that's when the traveling started for us. So let me see if I can do it. So I went to kindergarten, first grade, second grade in Alaska, moved to Lewisport, went to Hancock County, or Lewisport Elementary at the time.
I went there too. I went first grade there. I forgot about that. I went to first grade there.
Man, that was a old school. It was old when I went there.
Do you remember the little Head Start? There was like the little white building.
Yeah.
Beside. I went to that Head Start.
My brother
too.
went there.
Okay, yeah.
And I think, how old are you?
I'm 33.
Okay, he's older than you too. So this was before Josh Merritt.
Yeah.
So I went to Lewisport Elementary School, and then I went there from third grade until fifth grade. And then I went to Hancock Middle School for sixth grade, went to Meade County Middle School for seventh, and then came back to Hancock County for eighth grade. And then ninth and 10th went to Hancock, went to Meade County just for like 2 months, Meade County High School, and then I finished at Breckenridge County High School.
Breckenridge County.
Yeah. So that, if I were to say a home, it would probably be Hancock County, just because I still got many friendships from Hancock, and and the only reason I left is I got in trouble, and I got forced out. But Brett County, I met so many good people in Brett County too, and that it saved my life for sure. And they luckily they weren't into the same stuff as my friend group in Hancock County.
Yeah.
So I it saved my life for sure. And then
that's the same reason I switched from Apollo to OHS.
Yeah,
I got in trouble and got kicked out of school.
And I chalk it up. I mean, it's all my fault. Like, I ain't blaming anybody, but I chalk it up at Hancock. There's nothing to do in Hancock County, little to do in Hancock County, and so you had to make your own fun, and we did, and we just had a little too much of it, and and we got caught, which is a good thing. We should have got caught, but still have great relationships. The principal who expelled me, I'm just going to name drop him, Mr. Carrick. He goes to my church now, and it's a funny story how we met, but anyways, I had a little write-up in the newspaper about the radio show, and one Sunday, a couple Sundays ago, he told me to come out to his car, and I was like, okay. So I came out to it, and he had made a frame of the newspaper article, and on the back it said, "Proud of you."
Oh,
and I was like, bro, I thought, this whole time, like, I made his life a living hell.
Yeah.
As a principal, you know what I mean? And for him to like do that and say I'm proud of you is like, okay, like I've come full circle, and that was the moment. So, but anyways, little shout out to Mr. Carrick, Bob Carrick,
man.
So when you're growing up, like did you have a lot of friends, like, that you stayed in touch with from, I'd say probably fifth grade, fourth or fifth grade, you start making, your lifelong friends and all that stuff. Do you still have friends from way back, whatever school you're in there?
In Somerset?
Somerset, yeah.
I did for a long time, and I still keep in contact with people from there. It of course, time just stretches those relationships so far, but even after I graduated high school, there was definitely 2 or 3 friends that I kept in touch with, and I still do. I mean, it's awful anymore. You get so busy, but I'll think like, man, I haven't talked to them for a while, and I try to make it a point now, just because I'm all over the place so much, that my new rule is if I think of someone like that, if I say, hey, I haven't talked to them in a while, send them a message right there.
Yeah.
And even if you have to reply to it later, but it starts the conversation so that when I am sitting down, that message is in the inbox or whatever. I can think to call them or whatever. And
now, have you played a show like in Somerset, like, and it had like people from your schools come up? And
no, I played a local bar there probably 3 years ago, and that was the whole reason I was like, I want to play in Somerset. But Pulaski County, it's the second or third biggest county in Kentucky, I think. It's a huge county. It's all into the Daniel Boone National Forest, very rural city. But it was, even being that big, it was dry up until 5 or 6 years ago. The county was dry. So so they didn't have any bars or anything like that, and they had festivals, music festivals and stuff. And
but they drink tea.
Tried,
they didn't have no alcohol.
Right.
Yeah.
So it made it tougher. But they finally went wet, and they had a bar up there that a couple friends told me about, and I ended up playing there. But I think it must have been on the busiest weekend ever, because it was one of I think 3 people showed up or something at that show or something. So
well, hey, we're gonna take a station break. We'll come back to you. Cool. You've been listening to the Forgiven Soldier Radio Show on 90.3 WKWC.
John 15:13 says, "Greater love has no one than this, that he laid down his life for his friends." Thank you for listening to the Forgiven Soldier Radio Show.
Out in Reynolds Station, there's a trailer that sits back above the hill. White with shutters painted red, a kitchen where we'd sit down for a meal. Me and my 2 brothers ran the woods right out beside when we were small. We'd run and laugh and fight all day. The real world didn't matter yet at all. Sometimes I still think about that tree of ours where we hung out from morning till the sun was wearing thin. And then we'd head back for supper time and fall asleep to wind chimes. When morning came, we'd do it all again. And I know I'm getting older now, but in my mind just ain't the same. I'm living for this nightlife, chasing fortune, girls, and fame. And I ain't been back in years now. I'm the only one to blame. I keep those memories with me. Law, but memories ain't the same. Across the field, the cows would stay all by itself. There's set a water well. We'd throw rocks and pennies in and wish for things, but what we'd never tell. And then we'd sit on the porch and play Wilma Marshall and Wanda May told stories about times from way back when. Army men and Lego blocks, Hot Wheels and a no-shoe box. Our next adventure just around the bend. And I know I'm getting older now. In my mind just ain't the same. I'm living for this nightlife. I've been chasing fortune, girls, and fame. And I ain't been back in years now. I'm the only one to blame. I keep those memories with me. Law, but memories ain't the same. And I'm sure that place ain't half the size as it was in my younger eyes. But life ain't near as big as what we think. Yesterday I dialed that place. To my surprise, a voice came on the phone and said, "Baby, come back home." And I know I'm getting older now, but in my mind just ain't the same. chasing fortune, girls and fame. And I ain't been back in years now, and I'm the only one to blame. I keep those memories with me. Love and memories ain't the same. Well, I keep those memories with me. Love and memories ain't the same.
The Forgiven Soldier Radio Show. Christ offers forgiveness for everyone, everywhere.
All right, welcome back in to the Forgiven Soldier Radio Show. We're in the studio with Mr. Josh Merritt. So before we were talking about all the 50 schools you went to as a child that shaped who you are today. Was there any teacher that stood out to you that, I know you had a bunch of them. So
I had a bunch, man, and I say this, I remember always liking to go to school. I had a really rough upbringing, man, and that's a lot. That has a lot to do with the being thrown around a lot. And so I remember loving to go to school, but a lot of times it was to get away from home, if that makes any sense. So, but I was thrown around so much. There's a bunch, man. There's a bunch of teachers. I probably should have one that stood out, but I loved going to school to get away from it, but I was not one of those guys that just enjoyed school, though. I didn't make good grades. Yeah. I was kind of a troublemaker. I wasn't, but I was like a class clown, you know, and doing anything for attention. I've always been that guy. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how I was
leads
too.
me into my job now, I guess.
Exactly. It's been set you up for success for sure.
Well, I've always said too, going to so many schools, people say all the time, they're like, "Man, you never meet a stranger, huh?" I was like, "Well, you should have grown up the way I grew up, man."
Exactly.
I'm like, you had to make friends quick, you know. So
yeah, it's that quick, and I was a little shy in school and until I got to meet people, but I think the military really brought out because they say the same thing, like, I'll talk to anybody. I don't care. And I think the military really helped me with that, because you got to meet so many people in a short amount of time, and you only got a short amount of window to talk to them. It's like, okay, where are you from? How'd you get in here? Blah, 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 blah. And then I don't know, that skill kind of translated to life, and but so when you were growing up, when in your life did you say, music is, I love the music aspect of everything? Like, when did that take place?
My dad's family is big music family. My dad's one of 14 kids, and at least half of them play an instrument, sing, something to that effect. So music was huge in my dad's family growing up. And my dad was kind of the guy of the family that, I don't know if he was the black sheep of the family, but my uncles and aunts, they at least today, all took a very religious route with music. Mm-hmm. And I mean, my dad kept me in the church growing up, but my dad never played in church. He never, my dad, before I came along, was the first one in the family. My dad plays fiddle, and he played in several traveling bands, local bands and stuff through the 80s. And he was the first guy that was like going out playing bars at night and playing with these cover bands and stuff like that. So, so by the time I came along, it was kind of one of those deals where he hung it up and got a job, the whole thing. And so, but music was always huge in my house. My dad was a songwriter. He's never had like a big hit out or anything like that. But I can't remember a time when my dad wasn't writing songs around the house and being creative around the house and playing guitar and singing and always showing me music. And so I was dipped and soaked in it from time I was born, honestly.
So as a kid growing up and seeing your dad writing and all this stuff, because that's my thing with my kids, and that's kind of why, I mean, I do it for me, but I also, so my grandfather was really big into music, and he passed away before I was even born. So growing up, people would always say, "Oh, he was a great musician. Like that boy could sing and play and all that stuff." And I that's where kind of the passion kind of came from. Like, oh, I was like, I wish I could hear his stuff, but nobody had his stuff. Nobody recorded him, and this was back in the 70s and early 80s. So when I was doing it, I was like, I want to record it so my kids have it. So when their kids are born, they're like, you know, if something happens and I'm passed away and I don't get to meet him or whatever, they could say, "Oh yeah, this is your granddad," you know. And good or bad as it is, I just want them to hear it and want them to know they can just let yourself out, you know, be uncomfortable and get out of your comfort zone a little bit. And that's kind of what it is for me. But as a kid growing up and seeing that, like, what did that mean to you? Like, well, I mean, was it cool? Like, did you?
Everything. I'll say this. So like, I was never good at sports. I wanted to be. I played football. I wanted to play basketball so bad. I couldn't stand it, and I stunk at it, man. And it's one of those things, like, I just knew I didn't stand out in those fields. I had friends that did, you know, and they were great, and I was like, man, I wish, you know. And I always played music around the house and stuff, and I can remember, like, the first time I brought a guitar to school. I don't even think I brought a guitar. Somebody else had brought a guitar to school, and I was like, well, I know a song, and I played it, and I was sitting playing a song, and I'm young, super young, and I'm playing this song, and people are stopping what they're doing, and they're starting to come up, and all of a sudden something clicked in my head. I was like, hey, I'm kind of like the quarterback now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, this is me being the quarterback here. Like, what is this, you know? And but that was the first time I knew, like, hey, this is something, man. And I've always liked doing it, but I didn't realize that I was good at it, you know. But aside from that, before that, music was the way that me and my dad connected growing up. So it was I think I fell in love with music so much because when my dad got off work, a lot of times he worked a laborious job. He was very tired, like many people are, you know, when they get off work. But that was the thing. My dad would always make it a point to come to my room and hey, you want to play a little bit, you know? And,
that's awesome.
That was the way we connected, you know? So that was the first way that it was a love for me, was that. And then, like I said, it would be like my freshman or sophomore year of high school before I ever thought that anybody else would like me playing, you know?
Yeah.
So
did you ever play in like talent shows or anything in high school? No. See, I always wanted to, but I was so afraid.
See, and I bounced around so much, and I went through this phase in high school where I've always loved rap and hip hop. Like I have a love and an appreciation for it. And I went through this phase in high school where, like, the group of people I was hanging out with, that's what they listened to, and I had listened to it since I'd grown up. So, like, I guess it was like when I was around my friends, that was the only side, because that's what we related. You know, when we were talking and stuff, that they weren't listening to the Travis Tritt and stuff I was listening at home, so it never was a talking point to bring up. And also, I never, not that I didn't think it was cool, it wasn't even that mindset, but I never, I don't know, it was very weird. You would think that, like, if you played guitar and you thought you were good at it, like, that would be what you would cling to when you were around people. But it wasn't for me at all the way through school. I never made it a point. I had a couple garage bands that I did freshman, sophomore year of school, and we would go out and play. I think the first gig I ever played with a band was Fordsville Days.
Awesome.
In Fordsville, Kentucky, when I was probably 14 or something. And again, I loved doing that, but I didn't go to school the next day like, hey, I played this big like, I just didn't think it was, I don't know. It was like two different worlds back then.
Really?
For whatever reason. I don't know why I was like that, but I was.
Breckinridge County, Hartonsburg, they have what they call hold down days. And growing up, you know, my mom and dad are originally from Breck County, so we'd always go back there and do that. And they'd always have these bands play at the hold down festival. And I remember, you know, going there and thinking, I was like, man, that'd be so cool to play. Like, I just thought it was so big time to play at a festival like that. And I was like, oh, it'd be so cool. cool to play, you know, and I mean, there's still hope for me though. I could probably still play at the Hoedown Festival. And,
Sure.
I'd probably be nervous to do it, but
I'll make it happen. I'll book it, and then you can just come with me. Like I don't.
hey, there we go.
Right,
We can do that.
Right.
So when did you take to like songwriting? When did that become a thing for you?
I was writing songs like around the house. I mean, it's a very young age, man. That's always been my outlet, was to write.
Yeah.
And even before it was songs, I kept a journal when I was very young, and I was never. I couldn't say I was into poetry, but I guess that was my first, just making rhymes and making. And again, I went through a big hip hop stage, and I credit that stage in high school where I was writing like hip hop songs and stuff to. It made me learn how to rhyme a song. It made me learn the structure of a song and things like that. To even when I would move beyond that and try to write like the songs I write now, if you go back and listen to some of our recorded stuff, a lot of it's very
like a rap song.
It's a folk song, but it's got that cadence to it almost, you know. So,
well, I say all the time. I mean, bluegrass music is. To me, this is to me. Bluegrass is the start of music for me.
Yeah.
And then, like, there are some rap artists who have bluegrass roots. Mm-hmm. They might not know it, but I mean, some of that stuff started out in bluegrass, and that's kind of where they got it from. So, do you remember the first song that you ever wrote? Like, put music to it?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't think anybody's ever asked me that question. The first song I ever wrote and asked, let's see. That I actually sit down and could play on guitar. I would say it was this song called The Wreck. I had a really bad wreck when I was like 16. And after that car wreck, it put my dad in this weird headspace for a while where I could tell, like, he's not one of these guys that talks about his feelings a lot.
It shook him.
But I could tell after that he was thinking like, man, what would I have done if you'd have died or something, you know? Yeah. And I wrote this song called The Wreck, and I recorded it. There's a version of it out there somewhere. It's not one I'm probably proud of, but
you should be. I mean, that's where it started.
Sure.
It might not be as good as quality.
I would say it's that though. I would say it's that song, and that was the first one that I'd play it for people, and they were like, "Oh wow, that's a really good song." And again, that's a lot of people probably would have trouble admitting that, but I think that's where a lot of our focus and passions come from, is like
acceptance.
Yeah, acceptance, sure. And when somebody's like, "Hey, that's pretty good. You're good at that." Like, something does trigger in your mind.
But then, how do you know like they're not just being genuine and just being nice? I
don't think you do.
Compare like being real. Like I want somebody to be like, "Hey, that's a horrible song. Well, you need to work on this."
And I've had people in my life like that. I'm more thankful for those people sometimes than I am the people that aren't. But I think that's what separates it is. And I'm glad you said that, because someone being like, "Hey, that's a really great song. You should do that," and then you saying, "Oh, hey, I'm good at that. I'm going to go do it." I think that's what separates. You doing it just because people like it.
Yeah.
I don't think that's why I did that and wanted to be a songwriter. I liked how writing a song and it made me feel, whether I was good at it or not. After they said, "Hey, that's good. That meant something to me. I had a son that was in a wreck, blah, blah, blah." You know what I mean? And I was like, that's cool. That's what I want. So whether I'm good at it or not, I just like doing that.
Yeah.
And so that, it starts that path and you continue on.
I tell people, like, I'll, play a song or whatever and say, "What do you think?" And they're like, "Oh, that's a great song," and I kind of take it with a grain of salt. I'm like, okay, that's good.
Sure.
But I have my wife, and she is my biggest critic.
Yeah.
And she is the one that says, like, when I write a song and she's like, "It sounds like all the other ones you wrote. Like, I don't like it."
Yeah.
It breaks my heart.
Sure.
And I get mad at the moment, but then I'm like,
but what do you do?
I accept it. And I'm like,
and then what do you do?
Let me go change it. Let me go tweak it a little bit and then come back to her.
And then the next song you write, what are you thinking about? How do I make this different?
How do I make her excited about it?
Yeah, exactly.
And so I'm lucky to have that.
That's in the moment, best criticism you could ever ask.
Yeah, in the moment, I'm like, oh my God, like they're all good. Like I sound the same when I talk, so they're all going to sound the same. But,
sure.
But I get what she's saying, and I I appreciate it. So hopefully you have something like that in your life. But
I have lots of people like that in my life. I'm very my dad's one of them. My dad's the most honest person I've ever.
Y'all still play together and stuff.
Yeah,
like
when
on
we
a
can.
porch
It breaks my heart. We don't get to as much as we used to. And
I'm gonna tell you right now, you gotta take the time.
I know, and it's something I really do know, and
because I've never met your dad, I've never seen y'all together, but just the way you talk and like you light up, like I could tell the relationship.
He's my hero. Yeah, he's my hero.
I can tell the relationship's important.
Yeah, it absolutely is. He's my idol, my hero. Yeah, and,
that's awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of idols, I appreciate you wearing this shirt. I know y'all can't see him. I'll take a picture of it, though.
Sure.
He wore a Garth Brooks shirt because he's listened to an episode and knows I'm a huge fan. And we were talking before the show. I shot my shot with him. You know, I'd messaged him, and he hasn't responded yet, but he will.
Sure he will.
In due time.
Yeah. Yeah, if he knows what's good for him, he will.
Garth, catch me early, bro. Like when I'm starting out, man.
Are you a Tom Segura fan at all?
I've listened to him.
Okay, so I'm a huge like that's if I have.
That's a guy with the no, who's the guy that takes off his shirt?
No, that's his friend. That's Bert Kreischer.
Bert, yeah.
Him and Tom have a podcast together though.
Okay, yeah.
Called Two Bears, One Cave, and but Tom Segura has this podcast called Your Mom's House with his wife, and he started this thing like a few years ago. And again, it's hard for me because I'm a huge Garth Brooks fan. My fiance
I know what you're gonna say.
The biggest Garth Brooks fan. My fiance and her family, I don't know any bigger Garth Brooks. They're the reason I went to this concert. Yeah. They've seen him like 15 times live. This is my first time ever seeing him. They are astronomical Garth Brooks fans. He was just huge in their house growing up. Their dad, who passed away a few years ago, biggest Garth Brooks fan. So anyway, that being said, I'm also a huge stand-up comedy fan. I'm a huge Tom Segura fan. I think I know what you're about to say. And he has this thing called Garthgate where he went on his podcast and he was talking with his wife, and he was like, there's some people in some of these these Inquirer magazines that have lined up some missing people with Garth Brooks tour dates.
Tour dates, I read into it.
And then they go down this rabbit hole where they're like watching videos of Garth, and he's kind of a different person, you know what I mean? Like, and that's why I love him. That's why everybody that loves him.
He's not your mold.
But if you weren't a fan of him and you just watch some of those videos out of context,
I've seen them, and I'm like, oh my, it got me thinking, like, right?
Yeah. Really? So anyway, it's the funniest thing because
I don't believe them, Garth.
Yeah, me neither. I'm with you, Garth.
That's funny.
So anyway, it's the funniest thing because like I'm the biggest Garth Brooks fan in the world, but I think all that Garthgate stuff is so funny. Like, I love it. It's so hilarious.
Just the extremes they go to. Like, I mean, they line it up though.
Yeah.
And I mean, it gets you thinking, like, well,
Yeah.
But
and here's the thing.
So that guy went on Theo Von. I'm a huge Theo Von fan. I know
too.
You are too.
I'm a huge
and he was talking about that too. And Theo was just the rat guy, and he was like, he was just funny. The whole conversation was funny.
Oh, he's went as far as So if you go to Tom Segura's Instagram, if you go to Garth Brooks' Instagram page right now, it's completely trolled by.
Oh, yeah.
There are no Garth comments. They're all Tom Segura comments. Like, if you haven't done it, go do it.
I'm going to do it. So he goes live every Monday, Garth Brooks does. Yeah. And in the chat, they're like, where's the bodies, Garth? Yeah. Where's the bodies at? It's like, really? Man, they're bones. Hey, we got to take a break. We come back. We're going to have some live music from Mr. Josh Merritt. So thank you for tuning in to the Forgiven Soldier Radio Show on 90.3 WKWC.
The Forgiven Soldier Radio Show. Put your faith above everything, but have your family close. Online at forgivensoldier.com.
Our love out of boredom. Take me to some other place, 'cause I'm too far in to believe you. And everyone lives for the chase. And I used to think we were perfect, but that's just something we say. 'Cause nothing in this world is perfect to when you know you gotta play. So what if we start here again, in a place where we can be true, remembering just what it meant on the day I knew I loved you. 'Cause life ain't no TV show, and babe, I ain't playing no role. Look in my eyes and you'll see that I'm giving you the best of me. Well, I never said I was perfect, and I know sometimes I'm wrong, but that doesn't change how I'm feeling. And I hope that you come along. 'Cause girl, I know sometimes you're restless. It seems like you always want more. But take a step back from the window and look at what could be in store. So what if we start here again, in a place where we can be true, remembering just what it meant on the day I knew I loved you. 'Cause life ain't no TV show, and babe, I ain't playing no role. Look in my eyes and you'll see that I'm giving you the best of me. So what if we start here again, in a place where we can be true, remembering just what it meant on the day I knew I loved you. 'Cause life ain't no TV show, and babe, I ain't playing no role. Look in my eyes and you'll see that I'm giving you the best of me. I'm giving you the best of.
You're listening to WKWC 90.3. I'm Brian Basham, host of the Forgiven Soldier radio show. I want to thank Randy Lanham and Volunteer Owensboro for supporting my show in WKWC. They're hosting John Lanham Jam Day from 10 to 4 at Yellow Creek Park. In the Pioneer Village, they will be attempting to set the world record for the largest bluegrass band. If you have a voice and an instrument and can play a G chord, you can be part of it and make history. Barry Lanham and the Foot Stomping Express Cloggers will be there, plus Kings Highway, the Bluegrass Brothers, and Shrimp and Grits. Man, that's just fun to say, y'all. Donations from the event go to Crossroads, My Sister's Keeper, and the St. Benedict's Day Shelter. There's going to be music jamming all day, food, arts, crafts, and activity for all ages. Thank you, Randy Lanham and Volunteer Owensboro, for supporting WKWC and the Forgiven Soldier radio show, airing Saturdays at noon and 7 p.m. and Wednesdays at 7 p.m. right here on 90.3 FM and on the WKWC Panther Radio app. All right, welcome back into the studio. We got Josh Merritt in here. We've been chatting it up about Garth and not just about Garth, but we've been talking about Josh's childhood and kind of we have a lot of like the same stuff like that we've been through and all that stuff. You're obviously a better guitar player and singer than I will ever be, but
Believe that.
oh, you should believe it. It's the truth. It's the truth. Like my wife said, he holds its own because my wife's an amazing singer. Like probably the best singer I've ever met in my life is my wife. And one of the reasons why I married her.
and I'm not ashamed to say that. When I first met her, like when I first heard her sing on stage, I literally sat there. I'm like, I'm going to marry this lady. Just she had a voice of an angel, and I was like, I've never heard anybody sound like this. And she still sounds like she's gotten better over the years. And now she won't sing for me, So
that's a shame.
That's sad, Sarah. But anyways, we're here to talk about you. So you put out the first. I guess album that I heard of yours was Reynolds Station. So let's talk about that a little bit. How was that making that album, and what did it kind of mean to you?
It was a very long process. So I'll give you the short version. I met through my friends Brasher Bogue. Mm-hmm. I met a guy named Shannon Lawson, who's had a big record deal back in the early 2000s, and even since then has wrote some hit songs. I got a ton of hit songs out, man. Great songwriter. But at this particular time, he was starting a studio with another friend of mine, this place called The Compound down in Nashville. Well, long story short, me and Andy had another mutual friend. His name was Bob Bradley, and Bob was starting up this nonprofit cancer foundation called Strong as Jamie, and Bob had written a song for a lady that he had gotten to know through this foundation. Her name was Jamie. She had cancer, and he had gotten to know her through the last stages of her life. Yeah. And Bob had written this song, and Bob reached out to Brasher Bogue and said, "Hey, I wrote this song. Will you guys record it?" So, and they said, "Absolutely, we will," for the foundation. The song's called Strong as Jamie. You can still find it on all the streamers. So they said, "Absolutely, we will." The second step to that was finding somewhere to record it. So they reached out to Shannon, who was starting this studio up right outside of Nashville, said, "Hey, here's the deal, blah, blah, blah. What do you think about us coming down and using the studio for a discount?" I think he did it for free, for the foundation. Awesome. So anyway, we all go in to record the song, or they go in to record this song, and they invited me down for the event. Bob was a friend of mine, friend of Andy's. Bob was like, "I'd really like for you to be there." They just wanted that energy in the room. I had nothing to do with the song. I wasn't on it or anything like that. But I got to be there while they recorded the song, and I got introduced to Shannon. And fast forward a year later, I had written the record Reynolds Station. I'd wrote a ton of songs at that point, but I got this idea probably around the same time that I met him that I wanted to write a concept album. Yeah. So almost all the songs on Reynolds Station were wrote to be on that album, to go together, and there's a subject matter that goes through the record. So over the next course of that year, I wrote that record, and then I thought, man, I want to record this thing. And of course, I'd never recorded anything in like a professional studio. So the first person that came to mind was Shannon, and I reached out to Shannon. I thought, man, we have mutual friends, but I don't know if he'll be willing to do this. And he was immediately in. He was like, "Absolutely, come down, let's talk about it." So fast forward, the thing is, he's running a professional Nashville studio, and this is his job at this point. This is how he's making money, and he's working with big name clients. I think the Stillwoods recorded one of their first records right there in that studio with those guys and several other people. And so it's not cheap to record there, and I knew that going in. But what Shannon told me was, he was like, "Here's what we'll do. Here's my rates. I can, he was working with some of the best studio musicians in Nashville. He said, I can get you these guys. This is their rates." He said, "But this is the rates." So here's the thing. You don't have to pay me all up front like most of my clients do. What you can do is we'll do a pay-as-you-go thing. And so I started that record in 2016, 2017. So I think the first 2017. And it took me 3 years to record that record because I would have to save up money. Yeah. go down and record, spend every penny I had. And then maybe 4 months later, we planned to go back down and work on it again. And it was a very hard way to make a record because it was hard to keep the energy going for it. But to make that quality of a record at the time when I had no budget, nobody backing me, no nothing, that was the only way that I could do it. So it took me 3 years to record that record. I finished it in 2019. Took me a year to do post on it, which is like everything you have to do between finishing a record and putting it out to make it do anything. And so we had this huge plan together to put out my first debut album that I was really proud of. And we were going to put it out in March of 2020. That's when the date for it to come out was going to be. And what happened in March 2020? The world shut down. The pandemic hit. And so I waited, and I had a good team put together for publicity and a publicist. I'm sorry, and I had people were going to help me with distribution, all kinds of stuff, all big Nashville words, you know. And of course, when we missed our deadline, their job shut down the same as mine did. So all those people disappeared, and I sit on the record for about another 6 months, and we put it out in November of 2020, and I self-released it at that point, which wasn't that bad, but there was a whole other plan for that record for other people to get to push it harder than even I got to push it, you know. And but we put it out, and we got some great write-ups and a lot of cool magazines that helped it get a little bit of attention. I think it could have done a lot better if it wasn't put out when it was, but it is what it is. That record still changed my life. I got to do a lot of cool stuff that I'd never done, and I got to tell this story it's loosely based on my childhood. It's loosely based on my family's a drug problem that ran through my family, and I got to hear a lot of people message me and tell me how they related to it and how it changed their life, and how their son was in rehab and they sent the record to him and he's 6 months clean. You know what I mean? The whole thing, man. So it was. Well,
let's hear a song from it.
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Let's get you playing. All
right. This is called The High. This is about being addicted to something, the bad part of being addicted to something. Go like this. Time to go for another spin. We said we'd never be back here again, but this itch I've got, it just won't seem to side. Last time was a bad few days. It's got me thinking that was just a phase, 'cause this feeling now, it means more to me than God. Drop your kids off to your closest of kin. There's a damn good chance you won't see them again. And look them in the eyes and then wave goodbye. Yeah, pretend they don't know that you're leaving for the high. Keep on thinking things will be just fine. Take a minute to enhance my mind, but my face looks bad and my mind just ain't the same. See, people care because they try to call, but that don't mean a thing to me at all. 'Cause this poison sky makes me think, do or die. So hang the phone up when you're close to kin. Don't give 3 damns if you see them again. This leather belt would make a damn good tie. As the world flies by just chasing for the high. everything now is upside down. We got busted with a half batch found, and there ain't no place left for me to lay my head. I make it now because I'm scared of the ground. My name's been smeared all over this town. Name one damn place that'll sell me Sudafed. So drop your kids off one more time, 'cause the state of Kentucky says you owe them a dime. As my head clears up, I start to sigh. Oh, day by day, just waiting to die. Waiting around for something new to try. A day in the life, chasing the high.
That's Josh Merritt on the Forgiven Soldier Radio Show, 90.3 WKWC. You're listening to WKWC 90.3. I'm Brian Basham, host of the Forgiven Soldier Radio Show. I want to thank Randy Lanham and Volunteer Owensboro for supporting my show in WKWC. They're hosting John Lanham Jam Day from 10 to 4 at Yellow Creek Park. In the Pioneer Village, they will be attempting to set the world record for the largest bluegrass band. If you have a voice and an instrument and can play a G chord, you can be part of it and make history. Barry Lanham and the Foot Stomping Express Cloggers will be there, plus Kings Highway, the Bluegrass Brothers, and Shrimp and Grits. Man, that's just fun to say, y'all. Donations from the event go to Crossroads, My Sister's Keeper, and the St. Benedict's Day Shelter. There's going to be music jamming all day, food, arts, crafts, and activity for all ages. Thank you, Randy Lanham and Volunteer Owensboro, for supporting WKWC and the Forgiven Soldier Radio Show, airing Saturdays at noon and 7 p.m. and Wednesdays at 7 p.m. right here on 90.3 FM and on the WKWC Panther Radio app. All right, welcome back into the Forgiven Soldier Radio Show. I'm with Josh Merritt, and he's got his old guitar out, and we're listening to some live music. We're gonna go down a rabbit hole here. So so this is gonna be podcast only.
Gotcha.
Stuff, right? Like what we're about to do. Like we're gonna put it on the podcast, and because I only get an hour on the radio show.
Gotcha.
So this is an exclusive podcast version of this stuff. So we were just off the air. We were just talking about like songwriting and how do you go about songwriting? Do you wait until there's something in your head, or do you force yourself to sit down and come up with like these different like ideas and say, hey, this is what I want to try to write about, kind of thing? Like what's your process?
Jason Isbell is a big hero of mine. I love Jason, but I think he's one of the best songwriters alive. And
more than Taylor Swift?
It's close.
We'll get into it.
Yeah.
I got some arguments about her, man.
Yeah.
She is by far a very talented songwriter.
Oh, absolutely.
And anyways,
I wasn't
Jason
being
Isbell.
facetious. I was. Yeah.
She's up there. She's top 5 in my book.
Yeah, she's a great songwriter. Well, have you heard Ryan Adams, who I think is one of the great songwriter? He completely re-recorded one of her records. Do you know this?
No, I don't.
He completely re-recorded 1989 just to prove, like, hey, watch me sing these songs, and it's the stuff I'm doing. She's just popping it up. Like, they're great songs, what he was trying to say. And they are. They're incredible. But anyway.
Jason Isbell.
Jason Isbell, one of my heroes. I'm a huge Jason Isbell fan. And he would say, he's quoted with saying that inspiration is for rookies, show up and get to work. That's what he would say. But I've tried that process where I like, all right, 10 o'clock today, I'm going to sit down with my guitar and a notepad, and I'm going to sit and write. And I guess I'm just a rookie because I've written songs like that, and I've written songs that I'm proud of like that. But my gosh, it's just the songs that I get out of that process are not near as dear to me.
Do they seem forced?
Very much. And here's the thing. I guess if you do that over and over and over and over again, and you it definitely has to make you a better songwriter. Yeah. It definitely has to make you a better on the spot songwriter to where you know, because you learn anything by doing it over and over and over again. But the songs that I'm most proud of were inspired. I got some kind of an inspiration for them, and I'll tell you, I'm one of those guys that I'll get it in my head. I'll get the idea in my head or a melody in my head, and my voice recorder on my phone's my best friend.
Yeah.
I've got thousands and thousands. I'll be driving down the road and I'll
phone at?
and
I'm gonna show you. Hold on.
Yeah.
Keep on talking. Yeah.
And I mean, anything from a lyric to a line to a melody.
Yes.
Like I've even got stuff on there where I'm beatbox like
the beat. Yes, man.
You know, to get something
Look at
up
all
on
this stuff that I got. Like, I mean, it's just like, oh, this line.
It's
came
my
in
best
head.
friend, more so than my notepad on my phone or anything. Like that voice recorder is my best friend when it comes to stuff like that. And a lot of times I'll get, there's a song on Reynolds Station called Live With That. And that song was literally written and put on there because we were in the studio. And like Shannon was like, this is a great singer-songwriter record. And don't think that, but like, let's put at least one, song. Do you have anything? And I was like, well, here's the thing. More importantly than whether something's slow or fast or anything else, the concept of this record's very important to me, is what I told him. I said, so I can go write a song to be whatever we want it to be, but it's got to be in the concept. So,
well, let's hear the song. Let's hear the song.
You want to hear it? Okay, let's do it. So let me finish the story to the song because it's important. Yeah. So, again, a lot of this record was a very bad time in my mom's life, man. It was very hard to write this record and put it out because my mom, she's been clean off of drugs for 15 years. Like, she's moved past a lot of the stuff, of the content
and
stuff
just
on
bring
this
it all
record.
back up.
Yeah, and it was like, I'm gonna go dig up some,
bring it up
some
for $1, don't you?
and let everybody watch it. But the flip side to that is it is her story, but it's also my story too, you know, and it's also my history, even though it's hers and some of my other family. So anyway, that was the bad part. So I left that studio session and I thought, well, I'm not going to go force a song, but let's just see what happens. Okay. Yeah. So, I'll make this the fast version here. So, rewind back to then, my two youngest brothers were in a horrible, horrible car wreck out in Hancock County. They were both life flighted to Louisville. My brother Chris, it was like we didn't know how things were going to go. He had a really bad head injury. A limb came through, and
oh my gosh, yeah,
we didn't know, for one, if he was gonna make it. For two, if he did make it, if things would be okay, So my mom stayed in Louisville at the Ronald McDonald House. I always shout out the Ronald McDonald House, man.
They helped us when my first was born.
I'm doing a benefit for them here in about a month, and I've never got to do it, and I'm so proud to, because I think so much of the Ronald McDonald House. Anyway, my mom stayed for a whole month and a half, I think, at the Ronald McDonald House, and literally just lived in Louisville just to be with my brother while he was going through everything he was going through. And so I would go up about once a week just so she wouldn't have to be up there by herself, because my stepdad had to come home to work, so they had some income coming in, so she was up there by herself. So I'd go up about once a week and just spend the night with her, so she wasn't by herself. So I came back from the studio that same week. I went up to stay with her, and I was asking her, and I was like, hey, like, the record's going on. I know it's a touchy subject, and I've wrote all these songs. I need kind of an upbeat song, but I don't know how to write an upbeat song about what's going on here. And she told me very bluntly, she's like, well, like, nobody wants to hear this, but like, when we first started into this venture, it was pretty fun. It was pretty fun.
That's why you catch the
demons come later. You know what I'm saying? The demons come as you're doing it, as you get deeper and deeper and deeper into this hole. But like when
mama coming through with the song,
but she was like, it was, we were having a good time, even like, and they were in it, not her specifically, but like this was like a family thing that happened.
Yeah.
All of them got into it once, and not her specifically, but some of my family were going down like the manufacturing hole and stuff. Even that part of it, she was like, it was dangerous and it was fun, and she's like, it was worst thing I ever did, or that, and it ruined my life in ways that
But that's why they keep on going.
But it was a lot of fun. And so she proceeded into telling me this story about how my family at that time got into the manufacturing field, and so I wrote this song about what she had told me. It was an aunt of mine that kind of kicked things into gear. I won't go into her whole story, but I wrote the verses to this song. And the thing about a fast song that's so dangerous is you have to have a hook for it.
Yeah.
So I wrote the verses to this song, and I thought, what's a hook for this? And what I did was I went back into my voicemails, and a year before this, I opened an Andy Brasher show at Mardi Gras in New Orleans.
I don't know who that guy is.
And we
Andy
were
Brasher.
dancing around in the street, feeling very good, and for some reason there was a video going around Facebook where these guys, I couldn't even tell you the name of the guys, but the guys in this video were going, "Ooh, we live, baby! Ooh, we live!" And we were doing that all over New Orleans, and the whole way home from this trip, I got like Nate Dogg stuck in my head, like,
"Oh yeah,
don't you wanna get live with that? Don't you wanna get live with that?" And I recorded that on my phone. So anyway, I know I took the long version here.
I love it.
Long story short, short story long. I wrote the verses to this song, went back into my notes and found this hook and put it together. And I was like, damn, there's a song.
I'm excited.
It was like this. Said, don't you want to get alive with that? Put the money in a big old stang. Yeah, there's no doubt that money make a man act funny. I say that that's a matter of fact. Go from Grommy to the queen of the trap. Flip 32 behind these stang. Well, the clock struck 1 and we were rolling in funds. But you gotta keep your head on track. Now get back. Young sister Jenny sure came home with plenty. Said we got to get together at 5. She said, I got enough cash for a 1,000-mile dash. Get your ass in the car, let's drive. She said the money they gave me to try to help save me, I think that we can double again. So with 15 grand and a broken right hand, hit the go faster pedal, let's spin. Don't you wanna get alive with that? Put the money in a big old stang. But it's no doubt the money make a man act funny. I say that that's a matter of fact. Go from Gromby to the queen of the trap. Flip 32 behind these stag. Yeah, the clock struck 1 and we were rolling in funds. But you gotta keep your head on track. See, now that plan was a win, so we did it again. But we thought that we'd be doing better with the powder she was buying and the noses she supplying, keeping everybody under the weather. And that habit got worse, man, it left me no choice. We were doing what we got on credit. Now that's a dangerous feeling when the people who were dealing are the ones ending up indebted. Don't you wanna get alive with that? Put the money in a big old stag. But it's no doubt the money make a man act funny. I say that that's a matter of fact. Go from Gromby to the queen of the trap. Flip 32 behind these stag. Well, the clock struck 1 and we were rolling in funds. But you gotta keep your head on track. Now get back, I'm gonna try to pick it. Wanna get alive with that? Put the money in a big old stang. But it's no doubt that money make a man act funny. And say that's a matter of fact. Go from Gromby to the queen of the trap. Flip 32 behind these stag. Well, the clock struck 1 and we were rolling in funds. But you gotta keep your head on track. Now get back.
man. That right there is good.
Thanks, man.
Well, we're in here dancing in the studio.
Thanks, man. That makes me feel good when I play that
But
song.
now that I know the meaning of the song, it's kind of morbid to be dancing to.
I know. It's every time I tell the story to that song, everybody's like, I had no idea what that was about. That's why when
I've seen the video, and a cool video too.
Yeah.
I mean,
it doesn't add up though, and maybe and that's one of those things. I like it because it makes it kind of, but it's one of those things when I play it acoustic, I try to slow it down a little bit more because it's one of those songs. It's got that rap cadence to it that I was talking about. It's very Charlie Daniels, you know. If
you going back to your roots on that one.
super fly, stay high, sneak into the alley in the middle of the night, So, but it's got that rap cadence to it. So I try to slow it down when I do it acoustic a little bit, so people can hear the lyrics a little bit better.
It was good. Well, they should all wear headphones because it sounded amazing in the headphones.
Oh, thank you, man.
So what do you have any like new music that you're working on, or are you still playing the Reynolds Station stuff?
No, I've been just bleeding that vein as hard as I can for 3 years now. And I just finished a record about 3 months ago.
Okay.
And it's. I think we're gonna. I haven't even announced it yet. Really, I mean, people know that I've been in the studio working on something.
Exclusive here on the Forgiven Soldier Radio Show.
I think, and nobody put a stamp on this, but I think the plan as of right now is the record's done. It's finished. We're doing all the post stuff now, getting it ready to put out. I think the plan is right now we're going to put the first single to it out somewhere around the realm of the 1st of December.
Okay.
And then the whole record will come out in February.
Okay.
So,
what do you want to play a song from the new album?
Ooh. Yeah, I'll play one.
All right.
This is very exclusive. I've not played anything off of it yet. Tune this real quick. Says you can pull this out, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we might have to cut this down because I only get an hour.
Yeah, I understand.
So they'll have to download the podcast to get this new song anyways.
Yeah, perfect. All right, my new record is the name of the record is 206, and this isn't going to be our first single, but this is probably my favorite song off the record. It's called Easier Alone. Waking up again and I'm sleeping in the middle of the bed, thinking about the night you were here and I was sleeping on the edge. The laundry, it don't pile up like it used to, and all the things I bitched about I still do. It's easier alone, but I ain't never wanted easy. I know I must have said this once before. It's easier alone, and why don't anyone believe me? Oh, I like the nights this quiet. Why don't anybody buy it? Never wanted TV in my bedroom, but I'm glad you put it in. 'Cause now that I'm alone, it makes the only words that Homer ever said. And the shoes beside the door are piled up knee-high. Sometimes I think to stack them as I pass by. It's easier alone, but I ain't never wanted easy. I know I
must have said this once before. It's easier alone, and why don't anyone believe me? Oh, I like the nights this quiet. Why don't anybody buy it? And I don't mind these pictures that I can't take down. And I don't know what's wrong with me and this frown. It's easier alone, but I ain't ever wanted easy. I know I must have said this once before. It's easier alone. Why don't anyone believe me? Oh, I like the nights this quiet. Why don't anybody buy it?
Man.
It's an exclusive
good,
there, brother. I don't think I've ever
there.
played that live yet. I was second guessing myself because I haven't played it yet.
Yeah, we don't know. So you can be whatever you want to. So,
Right.
And that was called Easy?
Easier Alone.
Easier Alone. That's
Yep.
man, that's so good right there. That's
Thank
exclusive on the Forgiven Soldier radio show. Actually, this is the podcast version. So thank you guys for downloading the podcast
Sure.
and hearing Josh Merritt exclusive. Man, I really do appreciate you being here.
I appreciate you having me on, man. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've enjoyed myself. I mean, we can go on for hours. They're gonna kick me out though. But so what's last words from you? What's going on in your life? What you got coming up?
Yeah, all busy with shows, man. We're playing all over the place. I think we're going back to Chicago here in a couple weeks, and then back to Milwaukee, Wisconsin a couple weeks after that, and everywhere in between. You can find out where I'm going to be playing at joshmerritt.com, and then hold tight. Hopefully in a couple of months I'll be announcing this record to you folks. So,
That's awesome.
206 coming soon.
All right. Well, you want to play us out with another song?
Sure.
Let's play us out.
I'd love to.
You're listening to Josh Merritt on the Forgiven Soldier radio show.
Well, is there any action I can take to bring you to my world? Sometimes I stop to buy some time from this old lonely girl, and she sells it by the ounces. Well, and the weight is always light. If I have enough, the chances are that I won't sleep tonight. So I put some on the table and I dress up for the town. Well, I pull myself a rail and then I take the first one down. I can always find some time, I've got her number in my phone. But time ain't the kind you wanna do alone. And how many times can I fall down on my knees and cry? Well, I'm feeling high, oh so dry. I've watched the whole world pass me by, and I'm floating like a barrel, and I'm praying like a saint. And how many times can I be what I ain't? If there ever was a reason that I should keep off to myself, well, I'd like for you to tell me why you'd set me on your shelf. And what kind of darkened magic really is it that you use? Well, you make me want to scratch my face. You make me have to choose. And I've never wanted anything the way I've wanted you. And if leaving is the puzzle piece, but your tension is the glue. And just before I limp away and reconcile the pain, you swoop in like a cloud and make it rain. How many times Can I fall down on my knees and cry while I'm feeling high, oh so dry? I will watch the whole world pass me by, and I'm floating like a barrel, and I'm praying like a saint. How many times can I be what I ain't? Times can I fall down on my knees and cry while I'm feeling high, oh so dry? I will watch the whole world pass me by. I've been floating like a barrel, and I'm praying like a saint. And how many times can I be what I ain't? And how many times can I be what I ain't?
You've been listening to My Dad on the Forgiven Soldier Radio Show. The Forgiven Soldier Radio Show is a broadcast service of Veterans Empowered Together and 90.3 WKWC.